Uh, Ms. Levy, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Mary Levy. I am the mother of two proud graduates of the D.C. Public Schools, and I have spent the last 30 years studying the DCPS budget, staffing, expenditures, and policies. I'd like to think that we've made progress, but after listening to this morning's testimony, I feel like I have accomplished nothing. What I'm giving you today are some data that I think you may find helpful in your future work. I want to emphasize that right now I am not working for anyone and I am not representing any organization. This is strictly my information and my opinion. Don't attribute it to anyone else. First of all, enrollment has gone down 28% over the last 8 years. At the same time, the number of central office employees has increased by 38%. I was therefore somewhat startled to read in Bill Turk's blog post last night that there's a claim that the school system has shrunk central offices 1/3. They have not. In the last 3 years, they've gone up. They've gone up by almost 20%, even as enrollment went down by 6,600. About 100 of the 738 people in the central offices make over $100,000 a year. And I think if you're looking for cuts, you have got to do some looking there. Second, DCPS per student spending increased dramatically since 2007. It was, this is all funds, not just local, $13,830 then. Last year it was, these are actual expenditures, last year it was $17,715. That's a 28% increase in per pupil spending, and inflation went up about 6%. Third, I've done a study of the local school budget allocations. The only information I could get was last spring's proposed budgets for the local schools. The school system will not give any of us that information for the current allocations. There are enormous differences in per pupil funding among schools. And this is not counting special education. It's not counting English language learner services. It's just general education. And we have thousands of dollars of difference in per pupil spending, which doesn't seem to relate to anything, except in some cases, small schools. I've given you the charts here. I have backup information attached, which your office, I hope, copied for you. Fourth, DCPS has very high teacher attrition. 50% of the workforce turns over in 5 years, and with beginning teachers, 25% leave in 1 year, 50% are gone within 2 years. Fifth, the percentage of inexperienced teachers, by which I mean first or second year, has increased a lot in the last 5 years. And what's especially striking is if you look at the chart there, you will see that in wards 1, 5, and 8, where we have lots and lots of low-income neighborhoods, about a quarter of their teachers are in their first or second year of teaching. I mean, this cannot be a good idea. Finally, I'm sorry to say that fiscal transparency has simply become a dream that's vanished. The information given and available to the public, I described last year as opaque. At this point, it's non-existent. We never see financial reports or audits. We can't get this year's budget information. I hope you will do something about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Levy, for your testimony. Some very valid comments. Ms. Levy, I have a couple questions for you about your testimony, and let me thank you for all the work that you've done over a number of years on this matter. And I'm not sure how many times what you produce has been challenged successfully. I'd like to say that for the record. On number 2 of your testimony, the increase well, actually, let's start with number 1. About 100 central office employees make more than $100,000 a year. Do you know what did you look at what the increase has been in the number of salaries over the last 4 years?
No, I would like to go back to those prior years. What I have to do, though, is not only count them, but make an adjustment for inflation, because $100,000 a few years ago is different from $100,000 now. But I'm sure it's a higher number because this is something that the mayor and council were always asking about and saying, well, how many of these do you really need?
Right. I was just
so I think it's important.
From 07 to 011,
yes,
we have about 100 and something more employees in the central office.
That's right, 118.
I was trying to figure out of the 118, how many of those are at $100,000 or more.
Well, that could well be, because I'm just astonished at the number of people who keep coming into DCPS despite the fiscal crisis, and there are advertisements up on the web for, all kinds of bureaucrats at high salaries.
And I want to go to the per pupil allocations.
Yes.
Because we've heard testimony from parents who have come in and said that they couldn't understand why their per pupil allocation is different when it's all supposed to be equal.
Right.
And you hear that a lot in the city around the per pupil allocation. Some schools receive more per student than others, and how could that be if the school is smaller?
There are 2 factors here. One is that when Michelle Rhee became chancellor, she went back to the old system of funding schools, which was funding them by staff members rather than dollars. And funding schools by staff members and then giving, let's say, one instructional coach to each school, no matter how big or small it was, means that small schools are favored. It also means that if you go by enrollment bands, for example, a guidance counselor for every 400 students, a school that has 398 students gets 1 counselor, and a school with 4,002 students gets 2 counselors, twice as much. So this throws it off in part. But the other factor is that the school system has not followed its own staffing plan, because I have done analyses that calculate how much each school should be receiving based on the school system's own staffing plan. And a lot of schools get more, sometimes lots more, and some schools get less than they're entitled to, and nobody knows why this is. And if you look at the sheet in the backup packet and the schools, you'll see it can't possibly be